on 93.7 The Ticket.
Jake Bogus and Nick Barr.
You look like if I touched you, you'd be sticky, and frankly, you smell bad.
Throwback Thursday. Ooh, excuse me, voice crack there.
It's all good, bro. It happens.
25, yeah, it happens.
It happens.
It's the Drive of 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Time to catch up with Dr. Munson. Brian Munson, Big Red Report. Always enjoy talking to him. Brian, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, guys. About yourself?
Doing
Good.
well. Valentine's Day treating you okay?
Oh, yeah, man. I get to hang out with the kids tonight and write a few stories and just take it easy.
Good.
Nice.
Good. Now, speaking of that, well, I guess we're getting kind of personal now. You have a son or sons?
I have two sons, both of them named after former Cornhuskers.
Wow. Okay, now, here's my question. Did you see Bo at the Duke game last night?
I did, but I read about it on the message board today, and was he wearing a Duke shirt? Was that what I heard?
Yeah,
It kind of looks like
it was
it,
dark
but I
blue
mean,
and white.
it doesn't. There isn't like a Blue Devil emblem on or anything like that.
We had a guy call in, and he said that Duke has kind of a dress code at their games. They won't let you wear other colors when you go.
Oh.
So, I mean, I don't know, I mean, how true that is, but that's what the caller said. But here's my question to you. Try and follow me. Nick and I are both cool with family time, father-son quality time. Bo, it was his son's birthday present, taking him to the game. But Bo, from all accounts, we have not seen or heard that he's even gone to one Nebraska basketball game this year. Should Husker fans be just the slightest bit upset that he's going to a Duke UNC game and he hasn't been to a Nebraska basketball game this year?
Okay, now let's step back here a minute. The occasion was his son's birthday, right?
Yes.
So if this was his son's choice to go check out a game on Tobacco Road, do we have to be upset about it because his dad had to take his son to see a game at another school?
I think that's a valid point. I think that's.
No, yeah.
What, I have driven the road from Raleigh to Winston-Salem to go to see the Nebraska Wake Forest game. What was it, like 5-6 years ago now, and I am still in disbelief on how close those two campuses are to one another.
Really?
And it's absolutely. I mean, it does not baffle me one bit about how much competition is between those two schools. I mean, they are literally down the road from one another. And if there was a chance, I mean, I would love to go see an Army-Navy football game. And if I was a college football coach or a college basketball coach and I decided to go see that game instead of watching the other game, I don't know if I'd be all that upset if people were upset at me because those are just one of those things you'd go out of your way to go see. I would go out of my way to go see a North Carolina Duke basketball game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that vibes with what Jake and I's sentiment has been. I want to talk about, we've talked about Urban Meyer's comments. He makes the comments basically saying that the Big Ten Conference needs to step up their recruiting. Does he? Let's dive into those comments a little bit more. Is he talking about more like, hey guys, we need to be more like the SEC and how we approach recruiting from investing money into it, maybe doing things like the SEC does, recruiting committed players, whatever the case may be, or is it being like, hey, Illinois and Indiana, you got to make sure you keep your top players in the Big Ten. You can't let the SEC come in and pluck those guys out of your states. I guess when you hear those comments from Urban Meyer, what really do you think he's getting at?
I think all of the above.
Okay.
But then at the same time, it's easy for him to go ahead and speak from the perch that is Columbus, Ohio, where he's able to grab nearly half of his class every single year out of his own state. When you're still talking about Ohio being a top 5 state in terms of high school talent, it must be nice to be able to tell everybody else to step it up. 10 of his 24 players, I think, that he signed out of the class this year were from the state of Ohio. Now, I think the way you look at it conversely and you say, okay, well, if he's challenging the rest of the Big Ten, now I get it. Because I think if you look at it from a state of, okay, let's take the worst class that the SEC had and figure out, where they fit into the Big Ten this year when it comes to talent. And they were, I think they were number 6. I mean, when you start talking about the points that they, if you look at the points, overall points, and you put them into the rankings of the Big Ten. So that tells you something, that the gap that is there from top to bottom, SEC, what kind of talent they're able to keep there. Obviously there's a huge recruiting advantage, when it comes to them in the footprint that they're in the southeast part of the country, over the teams that are able to recruit where they are at, and then nationally, there's a huge gap between where the bottom teams are finishing in the Big Ten to where the bottom team finishes in the SEC nationally.
Brian Munson, Big Red Report, FoxSports.com. All that being said, Brian, is Urban Meyer good or bad for the Big Ten?
I think he is going to challenge the Big Ten in a good way. And I think it's you can choose to – the teams that are going to be able to keep pace with him are going to all improve the conference top to bottom. I think that there will be some guys and some teams and some programs that are going to fall on their face for a while. I see there's going to be some teams out there that are just not going to be able to keep pace with him and what's going on. But I think that when, like what Nick was saying a second ago, challenge the Big Ten to be more like the SEC. Does it speak to the rules? Does it speak to the ability to go in there and, I don't want to talk about the oversigning because I hate that rule.
Yeah.
But, the competitiveness that's there and really starting to bring a more competitive attitude and trying to champion that and start talking about how important it is for the Big Ten to lock down those borders, like you were saying, and not let the top players leave the conference, not even leave the state. I think that those, like I said, 10 of Urban Meyer's players came from the state of Ohio. He talks a lot about locking down the state. The Big Ten's got to lock down the conference, the footprint, and then try to go out there and steal other players from other areas to bring them into the Big Ten to improve the play.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Big Ten only gets better by locking down their borders and then trying to do the same in return to other conferences who are choosing to go into their areas and try to steal players out of their backyard.
Well, there's been a mantra this week of the Big Ten possibly doing away with scheduling FCS opponents. I guess I'm a little bit of the school of thought, a little bit where I'm like, I'll believe that when I see it, just because, for one, these FCS schools, a lot of their budget is predicated upon, going to Michigan or going to Ohio State or going to Nebraska and getting $750,000 or $1 million to do that. I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I used to do a radio show where we talked to the head coach of which was Troy State at the time before they became Troy University, and I don't think they had a home game on their entire schedule, and they were literally going through raising funds trying to build a Division I program, and there are teams like that. Arkansas State I think was going through a lot of that over the past years, and I get it. I see how teams are taking advantage of it. A team like Nebraska is going to go ahead and pay them almost close to $1 million to come to Lincoln and get thumped. And I think they're of course over the past 3, 4, 5 years, the South Dakota States come to mind that they're coming to Lincoln and give Nebraska a run for the money. And in the grand scheme of things, I think what this really sets up for is beyond just keeping the FCS games off the schedule. I really see with the addition of Maryland and Rutgers into the program, I really see the Big Ten contemplating almost like a 9 or a 10-game conference schedule.
Yeah.
And how they're trying to expand that conference schedule. Because I was sitting there thinking about, maybe potentially going and catching a game like at Purdue next year. How cool it would be to go up there and check them out, because it's the way that things swing this year. It won't happen again for another 3 years. In Indiana, you still got to wait till 2015. Well, it'd be nicer to get more of these conference opponents on your schedule with a little more frequency. And I think the only way that the Big Ten can assure things that people of that, they're fans of that, and not having to waste the fans' money. And I'm going to put it in another perspective. If you're a guy that's buying season tickets, and season tickets are not cheap, you want to see Nebraska take on teams that are bigger and better than South Dakota State, regardless of how that game turned out.
Yeah.
You want to see them take on good programs and get the bang for your buck. And I think that's which way this is going. And I think you get that bang for your buck by bringing in more conference games and more conference opponents.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where in football in college football, losing one game isn't the end of the world?
I hope so, because I think that the way that Kansas State used to schedule their opponents, Colorado School of the Blind, and the Iowa Flying School and stuff like that. I mean, when you saw some of the cupcakes that Kansas State used to set up in the early 2000s, it was really making a mockery of it, and really setting things up to where they knew that they had to run the table because, in a situation too where we're still looking at it where a one-loss SEC team is gonna challenge, a team that walks through, maybe the Big 12 one year, or maybe the Pac-12, to where it's looking like you've got a problem there if a team comes through here, loses a game prior to the SEC championship game, and then gets in, and wins the SEC. That's just it's a little bit mind blowing to where you to put it in that perspective. But yeah, I think that you start looking now at more of a model of the NFL. And I don't think you start talking about 3 and 4 loss teams being the goal and what you're looking for. But I think 1 loss, 2 losses. I think that you need to get back to making it more difficult to go, start to finish undefeated and get pushed a little bit more often.
Brian Munson, our guest, Big Red Report, FoxSports.com. Hey, one more. We'll let you run here, Brian. Recruiting in 2014, never too early to look ahead, right? A week after signing day.
What's next?
What's next for recruiting? No, I mean, in all seriousness, Brian, Nebraska's class next year, your early take on what they're going to do differently and maybe the size of the class and the types of players they're going after.
Well, I tell you what, I still think you're looking at it probably about around a 20 to 21, 22. So it's a good sized class. Next year I think you start talking about that many commitments. Based on what Coach Bo was saying in his press conference on signing day, it sounds like Nebraska's really looking at nailing down and being a little more serious about that 500-mile radius. And I think that's gotten away from them a little bit. But in contrast, it hasn't been the best of years every single year, or the past couple of years anyway, for that talent radius to be putting out the type of talent that they have this year. There is a lot of talent this year inside that 500-mile radius, and in particular, in the 250. It's going to be very interesting to see how active Nebraska is in that 250 and in the 500. Obviously, they're going out there right now. I know Coach Beck has extended a couple offers to quarterbacks recently over the past couple of years. In fact, even a 2015 guy a couple of weeks ago down here in North Texas, quarterback. So, I mean, it's something that I think that I did my spreadsheet the other night. They're almost at 80 offers, I think, already is what I was counting. So they're already hitting the ground running, guys, and it's going to be – I think that what they have to do is a lot of things what they've done, in the last year. I thought Big Red Weekend was a huge success. I like what they do with their invitation-only junior day, getting the ball rolling, especially with those guys that are in that 250-mile and that 500-mile radius. But those are the guys that really have to drive home and convince them that, hey, look, it's not too much to take an 8-hour drive over here for the spring game, in early April, and come over here and check us out, and then maybe come back again for a real game in the fall. I mean, those are the things they got to drive home this year.
Brian Munson, Big Red Report, FoxSports.com. He usually joins us on Thursdays. Hey, thanks so much, Brian.
You bet you guys. Take care.
Did you see how big of a joke Alabama's non-conference schedule was this year? Non-conference home schedule this year was?
Tell me who they played.
This year at home in the non-con. Again, they played Michigan in neutral field. But they're non-conference home games.
That's a test, though. That's a
no,
good
I know, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
They're non-conference. I'm just saying from like a fan's perspective. Like if you're a season ticket holder and you get these non-conference home games. Western Kentucky.
Ooh, all right, Hilltoppers.
Florida Atlantic. And
Carl.
Western Carolina.
Wow. I think there was a stat. This is not, I do not know if this is 100% true. I'm a little dicey on the year, but I do believe the last time Florida played a non-conference game outside of the state of Florida was like 1999.
That's unreal.
Yeah. I mean, they don't leave the state. They don't
I
want to play
know they
anywhere
lost,
else.
but that UCLA game this year was fun. You know, like you want to go out there and challenge, and have some, and play a team.
A road game.
My
goodness. All right, an epic Jeopardy story.
Oh, I was going to
I watch
listen.
Jeopardy every day, so I saw this.
I'm ready.
It's good. I got some sound clips set up, and we're going to see how Nick Baugh reacts to this.
I'll probably scream.
Yeah, if you like sports, you probably like trivia, so you'll enjoy this coming up next. It's The Drive in 93.7.